The database editors give meaning to the data stored in the data files. Until you engage the editors, Hilltop doesn't know an awful lot about the data you've provided. The most important editors are for sites, data sources, and measurements. They all have the same basic layout, and we're going to have a look at the Sites editor. A site is a place, and the Sites table contains information about the places you collect data. The editor lets you assign names to a site, give its location, and enter any other information relevant to the site. The combo box at the top shows the key field for all the records in the database table, in this case the site name. I want to edit an existing site, and I can select it from the list using the mouse or the keyboard, or type the name directly. As I start typing, the list scrolls, and now that I have typed enough to uniquely identify my site, I press Tab or Enter to move out of the combo box. To add a new record, click Add New and enter the new site name. If you want to rename an existing record, first select it and click Rename. It doesn't work to change the name directly in the combo box. If you want to add a new record that is similar to an existing one, the best way is to select the similar record, make the necessary changes, and click Save As. Enter the new name, click OK, and the record will be saved with the new name, with the existing record left unchanged. To delete a record, press Delete. You are given a second chance if you press it in error. As usual, there's the If All Else Fails button here too. When you've finished updating your information, click Save and Close. The Sites table can get polluted with site names that are misspelt or refer to locations that you don't have any data for. The Checks function will list any site names that are wrong, and once they're identified, you can then edit, rename, or delete them as you wish. You can select as many of these as you want to. This one lets you know if there's data at sites and you haven't got the site recorded. This one can be useful to check whether the data file contains everything you're interested in, and can also work by picking out names in the database with spelling mistakes. These three are concerned with location and that you're on the ball with your eastings and northings. This one gives you a list of sites without an easting or a northing. This one will show sites close to each other, and you can check to determine if they're actually the same site but with different names, and then you can tidy them up if you want to. For sites that are outside the box, you enter the easting and northing to create a boundary for your region. This will bring up any sites outside your region and make it obvious if someone's entered a latitude and longitude by mistake. Manager will compile a list on screen, and if you want to, you can copy the results to the Windows clipboard, which is handy if you want to use them then in Excel. In some cases, inactive sites always fail site checks, and you can click here to exclude them from the search if you wish. There are 5 different tabs in the site editor where you can enter information about your site. Let's start with names and general details. A site can have alternative names. Short name is useful if you're exporting to software programs that require a name with a limited number of characters. The first synonym and second synonym field allow you to add other names for a site, and this can be useful if there is a disagreement as to the correct name. You can show sites by their synonym names under the View menu in Manager and Hydro. You can mark a site as inactive here, or reactivate a previously retired site. Having sites marked as inactive can declutter lists while still retaining your data. Under General Information, you should enter a location in terms of an easting and northing, and the GIS tag field helps GIS programs build map layers. For example, you might tag a site with W for where water level is measured, and Q for water quality. In these other fields, you can add more detail about your site as it's relevant to your work. Let's have a look at the next tab. Linked measurements have superseded these fields for sites associated with water quality data, so you can leave these blank. If you're doing a reduced level survey, the cross-section detail section is the best place to enter your pin positions, and you won't need to enter them again in a face card. Moving on, Hirds is NIWA software that predicts rainfall distribution. Hilltop Hydro can read this information, then produce some specialised graphs in the graph over time process. In order to do that, you store the information in Manager here, and you can copy the data from Hirds and paste it into the grid control. Under Lawa, you can enter information and Hilltop will provide data to Land and Water Aotearoa as a web service. To do this, you must enter the Lawa site ID, and you can use the Site Identifier field if your site name differs to Lawa's. The other fields are all optional. Lastly, there is the Extras tab, and the fields here are all optional. You can enter flow statistics, or even better, click Calculate, and Manager will read all data from the site and compute these values for you. You can also enter flood flow at various return periods and bore information. The grid control at the bottom here allows you to enter any other data as key value pairs. This is stored as XML, and XML query tools can retrieve this. Thanks for watching, and please watch the second video on database editors, data sources and measurements.